welcome to our second episode of Path to the Priesthood, the podcast where we will sit down with various Greek Orthodox clergymen from around the country and ask them exactly what it was that drew them towards ordained ministry in Christ's church. I'll be your host this evening, and my name is Christo Pappademos. We have a very special guest for you tonight, and someone who is a good friend of mine, Father Nikolaos Mataragas. And before we hear from Father Niko himself, we're going to take a look at a very wonderful biography he supplied me with, and we will hear it now. Father Nikolaos Mataragas was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, as the second of three children to Stefanos and Dionysia Mataragas. He grew up in the Metropolis of Chicago in the Southwest Suburbs of the city. Father Niko participated in the life of the church ever since he was a young boy. His parents wasted little time to incorporate him into parish activities, things like altar boys, Sunday school, Greek school, etc. Since childhood, a serious, dignified, and disciplined understanding of what it meant to both be an acolyte and an Orthodox Christian was instilled into Father Niko. He then realized his vocation of becoming a clergyman when he visited Holy Cross Greek Orthodox School of Theology in Brookline, Massachusetts in 2001. However, it took him almost 14 years to see his vocation through, as he took a different path than what God had laid out for him. We'll be hearing about this shortly. Finally, in 2015, after confiding in his spiritual father about his vocation and obtaining the blessing from Metropolitan Iakovos of blessed memory, he applied and was accepted to the seminary. The miracle of God's economy is truly great because within his first 3 years of the seminary, he met and married his wife, Presbytera Ariti, and she gave birth to their first child. On August 3rd, 2019, he was ordained to the Holy Diaconate by His Eminence Metropolitan Nathaniel of Chicago at his home parish, St. Spiridon in Palace Heights, Illinois. Then, on August 24th, 2019, in front of the Blessed Faithful of Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church in Waterbury, Connecticut, Father Nikolaos was ordained to the Holy Priesthood by His Eminence Archbishop Elpidophoros of America. Very cool. Since then, Father Nikolaos was assigned to serve the faithful of Holy Trinity in Waterbury, along with his wife, Presbytera Ariti, and their two sons, Stefanos Pavlos and Christos Nikiforos. Welcome, Father Niko.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, we heard some very interesting things in your bio there. It's specifically this, what was it, how many years? A 14-year gap in the time you visited the school and the time you actually ended up attending. Well, let's start a little before then. When was it that you had first had the inkling or the idea that you might become one day a priest? Let's hear your story.
So I think, like the bio said, I always understood the priesthood as something very dignified, and the Priestamino that I grew up under in my younger years, Father Anargyros Stavropoulos, he's actually a priest now in Paramus, New Jersey.
Okay.
Man was very astute, dignity, and very serious. He's from Greece, so he had that phronema about him.
Sure.
So it was always something that really kind of drew me, especially how he held himself in liturgy. And really, it was all about the liturgical life for me, at least. So that is what really attracted me to the priesthood. But as a young child, it's hard because you're just you growing up doing the things that I did, Sunday school, Greek school, altar boys, all of that stuff. I mean,
you were all in, right? All areas of the church, all in, which is interesting too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot of times you have, maybe there's one area that draws us, or just basketball, just Goya, only altar, but you were all in, which is very interesting.
Everything. But that's as far as it went. I mean, I did all of that stuff and I was everywhere, but really we didn't have much of that at home. I mean, my parents church every Sunday, but we didn't have much formation at home in regards to spiritual life. I mean, we fasted when we were supposed to fast, we went to church, but I don't think it went further than that. We never prayed before we ate or
sure
that nature.
Can I ask? So yeah. I know we'll get to this later. I know now you have some priests in the family, but at that point, were there any other priests in your family?
Zero. None.
No, that's interesting too. Okay.
Absolutely. So I just never thought it was attainable. I'm like, okay, that's a different life for other types of people. My family, we're not like that. I come from a family of restaurant and bar owners.
Ah, cool. In Chicago?
Yeah, everybody, all my uncles, everybody had restaurants. So
That's awesome.
it's just, it's just the life, of a Greek, and growing up, you're probably thinking, will I work in the restaurant? Probably. So,
Yeah, take it over, maybe. Yeah, sure. That's the natural. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much, but there's always something that interested me about being in the altar and seeing a priest serve liturgy. So
For
I
sure.
guess,
And it sounds like Father Anargyros, is that his first name? Paul, Father Anargyros, he must have been, I'm sure very refined liturgist and and so that's key too. That can really inspire someone at a young age. Very
oh
cool.
yes, very stern.
Oh, also, well, yeah, it was from
Oh, man.
Greece, sure, yeah, yeah, no messing around. Okay, so this was childhood, and then like as you were moving through high school, the same thing, involved at the church, everything like that.
Um, yeah, I mean, still involved, just not. I mean, you get to high school and you got American friends and you
Sure.
go whole different ways. So again, not having that kind of foundation at home really kind of just let me do whatever I want, so to
Sure.
speak. But as a matter of fact, and I think, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get to this or if you're going to ask about it, but in 2001, the Metropolis of Chicago kind of inaugurated this annual pilgrimage to the school.
Oh,
So I
no
was,
way.
yeah, 2001. I was a junior in high school, so I was 17, and so they chose 3 kids from every parish.
Dude, I had no idea they did this. This is amazing. Okay, keep going.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think we paid some type of deposit, but I think they covered most of the expenses for us.
Awesome.
So we flew us out like on a Thursday. We were there all weekend long. And so here I am, a kid going, I was chosen out of, one of the 3 kids out of the from the altar. And, you meet these kids, these seminarians over there, and we're talking 2001 now. And, you look at them and you're like, man, they're just like me. They're just like everyone.
Ah.
And so here I am thinking, coming into this, saying, it's not really for me because I can't live up to that type of life because I come from a family that doesn't really do that.
And
But
you've probably only seen Father Anargyros before. Like in your mind, it was only Father Anargyros, and now you're seeing other guys, younger, probably, like you said, just like you, and they're doing it as well. Interesting.
exactly it. I mean, it's exactly it. It's just, you see these guys, you're like, wow, these guys are just doing it right now.
Yeah.
They're here, and as like,
Especially Chicago, I feel like during those days had a lot of seminarians. And now, do you remember did you meet any of the seminarians? Or is it like, when you go to Mount Athos, there's monks there, but you don't really approach them? Do you meet them? Do you not meet them? Did you meet any of the guys when you went, or you just stayed with your little group?
we didn't. I mean, we met with a bunch of people. We had meetings, and we went to do stuff. We went to chapel constantly. We had meals. We went to all famous, Polimanakos, or I'm sorry,
From
what's the,
Nikes?
yeah, the refractory, the famous cafeteria, and we sat with them, we ate with them, and
That's
everything.
cool.
But man, I don't remember any of them.
Well,
So
sure. Okay. Cool. Cool. So that was your visit in 2001. How interesting. I didn't know if it was like a family thing. Okay, cool. So it was Metropolis of Chicago has their own pilgrimage. Do they still do this?
they haven't done it probably in like, so ours was they had done it like a decade before us, but we were like, they wanted to reintroduce it again. So ours was like the inaugural year,
Cool.
and then they did it for another 5 or 7, 6, 7 years. I think they stopped since. They haven't done it
Okay.
since.
Okay. Well, that's a cool program, and obviously, dude, it worked. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's pretty amazing. But so now we did though have a 14-year gap in between this time of first visit and eventual enrollment. So tell us about what happened during these 14 years.
Right. Okay, so we get back on a Sunday night from Boston from that trip, and myself and one of the other guys that was with me, who's a priest now too, his name is Father Aristides Garinis. He's actually he's in Flushing, New York now. He's
Oh, no way. Largest parish in the country. Wow.
Yeah. So he's the second priest there, but we grew up together at the same parish in Chicago. We played basketball together. We went to high school together, the whole nine. He's actually going to be the godfather of our second son, Christo. So, him and his wife, so
bravo. Great name, by the way. I approve.
I knew you would. So we get back, and him and I were like, "Hey, man, I think I want to be a priest." He's like, "Yeah, man, me too." So we're like, we're like all gung ho. We're like ready to do this. And
right after the trip, you were ready. Okay.
I mean, we were just, it's something, it just sparked. Just like, this is it. if these guys can do it, I can certainly do something like this.
Yeah.
So we get back and we tell our parents, and man, that did not go well. Like,
oh yeah.
like they didn't. I mean, they weren't like not supportive. Or like, the best deacons, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, sure. You're 17. You're 18. Yeah. You're probably young. They're like, okay, he's excited. Yeah. Yeah.
Not just that, but they like it was like the next day they go to Father Nadios' office, and they go to him and they're like, "Τι πήγες και τους έστειλες εκεί, τώρα θα θέλουν να γίνουν παπάδες, ούτε δεν ξέρουν τι τους γίνεται εδώ." And I'm just like, oh my gosh, Mom, please just stop. My parents were
not the thumbs up, not the go my child. Okay, so that brought you back down. Maybe you were okay, and so maybe the parents curbed that immediately.
They had a reason to feel that way too, though. I mean, they were justified in feeling that way. Listen, you're a 17-year-old kid. You know, what you went for 1 weekend, and also you want to be a priest. Like,
sure, probably the right, because obviously you went back on your own anyway. So in that instance, at that time of your life, I'm sure your parents were right, because there's a lot for you to do. Obviously, 14 years.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
tons. So, you know, I held on to that as long as I could, but you know, it wasn't just them. You know, it was also like, you know, friends. You know, because I had plenty of friends at the church, and of course all my American friends in high school, and you know, people like, oh, you know, that's cool, but you know, be real, man. Like, so like there wasn't really much encouragement. Now, Father Aristide, he went to Hellenic right away. Like,
oh, he did. So he had the opposite. He went
right away, became, you know, Holy Cross right away, ordained like, you know, 3-4 months after graduating, the whole nine. You know, like he.
So how long has he been a priest now? He went immediately. So he's already way ahead of us. In other words,
he was a deacon with Dimitrios for 2 years, 2 or 3 years. I don't remember how long. So it was him and Father Pandelemon who were deacons, and then they told him he's going to be assigned as the second priest in Flushing. That had to be 2007, 2008, right around there.
Whoa! So now this is interesting. Two different paths. Okay, so he did go straight there. Okay, and then what did your path do? Where did it take you?
So I just followed a path of any other high schooler applying to colleges. Go to college, and you know.
Which college did you attend?
Illinois State University in Normal, Illinois. That's literally central Illinois. I mean, when you picture like
cornfields
and like you can see straight to the horizon in any direction. There's no hills. It's just flat.
Wow.
So yeah, it's like college town, USA. You know.
Okay,
so
cool.
We had fun.
What did you major in?
So I majored in therapeutic recreation, which is recreational opportunities for people with disabilities, and I enjoyed it. But as soon as I graduated, now keep in mind, I still have my whole foundation as like, you know, I still have the spiritual, you know, drive, so to speak, but wasn't really practiced much. You know, Christmas, Pascha, we would go to these things, but in college it was just kind of swept aside. But so I graduated college, and you know, the stock market crashes. The 2008 crash of
I remember that, because that's when I graduated high school, trying to that was a crazy time.
Great recession. So at that point my dad's like, why don't you come in the bar with me? And I'm like, okay. So I started working with him in the restaurant bar, and the recession really killed all businesses, man. So it was after like maybe 5 or 6 months, he's like, I'm just going to retire. And I'm like, okay. So here I am. We closed shop, I think it was New Year's Eve of 2008.
Wow.
Here I am, unemployed. You know, I'm not finding any jobs with my degree. No one could find a job then. It was just impossible to find a job.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to find something. And it's really at this point where I really, so I need to backtrack a little bit. So my first cousin, Tim, he's kind of like my best friend in my formation in all of this whole journey, because when I first really started finding myself in the spiritual life again, it was because of him. Because I mean, when we talk about somebody who truly is like who truly fears God, who is a spiritual person, who prays constantly, who receives the sacraments constantly, I mean, goes to church. And this happened in the mid 2000s when I was in college. So here I am after the bar closes, and he approaches me. He's like, listen, man, I'm going into this teaching certification program. It's going to be like 2.5 years. It's an adult studies program. It's accelerated. We can get it done and become gym teachers after this. And I'm like, great, let's do it.
Wow.
So we did it. And in the meantime, I was working at my other cousin's bar as a manager. So I was working full time at a bar while I was getting my teaching certification in the evenings.
Wow.
So
Night classes, sure.
that was hard.
Yeah, that's a hustle.
The pay was good, but the schedule was terrible.
Yeah.
Schedule was awful. I mean, I was working all nights, every night till 2 a.m, cleaning till 3 a.m, getting home at 4 a.m, and going to sleep, waking up super late because just like you live the nightlife, and it's just
Yeah, dude, that's the restaurant bar life, which is it's interesting because that's a lot of
right.
Greeks in this country. That's their
Yeah.
that's their we're known for being restaurateurs
Right.
and owning bars and things like that. So it's very cool though. And usually like the restaurant gets passed down, but you from this this quintessential like Greek American experience somehow still felt the pull towards something else. And so now, did you become a gym teacher? Did you become a PE teacher?
So we finished our certifications and we got, and we graduated and everything. But with teaching, it's a little hard because you don't just, I mean, many people do find jobs right away, but with some people, it's kind of hard to get into a school system. So you kind of got to like,
Oh, sure. Yeah. And teachers stay, they're tenured. No, there's not a lot of turnover. Yeah.
yeah. So I had to play the game. I had to play the system, get into like a school system, a district, and start subbing, start like being a TA for classes.
Dude, did
And
you sub?
so I subbed.
I subbed. Look at that. which I will say, it's funny how at the time when you're doing it, you're like, okay, you're doing it, save some money, but the experience you get that pays off in youth work these days is amazing. But that's for another topic. So anyway, keep going.
So I came to a point where it was like a few months after. So I graduate in May. That summer, my cousin Tim gets married. I'm his cubado of that wedding. The fall comes and I'm like late 20s, and here I am living with my parents. I'm
Sure.
working part-time jobs here and there in school systems. I'm just like, man, I got to do something. And
yeah, something's gotta change. Yeah.
so I move out. I move
Oh,
out of
scandalo. That's a very big move for in a Greek family.
my mom did not talk to me for 6 months.
Really?
It was
Ooh,
awful.
so it was okay.
It was
Okay.
awful. So I move into the city with a buddy of mine who I grew up with at the church as well. And so we get an apartment in like the west side of the city near UIC, which is the University of Illinois in Chicago.
Okay.
And I'm living there. So I get a job at this as a server at like this pizza and wine bar in the pizza and wine bar restaurant in the city. It's like open only for like a year and a half. So it's like hot right now. It's got all the reviews.
Yeah.
So I get in there. So I start working there. So I'm doing that at night. And in the mornings, I'm taking the train down south to the suburbs to work at this elementary school that I was a TA and subbing for.
Whoa.
So I'm doing 2 jobs. So in the morning, I'm waking up, taking the train down south, getting back on the train, coming back up to the city, having like an hour of like relaxation before I have to get ready, get in my server uniform, and go to the restaurant to serve at night. And this is happening every day.
Wow, man. Yeah.
So it was just, this is where my life started to kind of spiral a little bit out of control, sort of downward, very downward, because you're doing this, you're working 60, 70 hours, you're exhausted. And Christo, I don't know if you've ever done the server thing.
I was a busboy. I didn't make it to server, but I did bus. And dude, that is probably one of the most. I've had a variety of jobs myself. That is one of the most exhausting jobs I've ever worked, man. I think it was one summer during college, and that was enough for me. Yeah.
I did it for 5 years, and man, but so like it's Friday night, and you're getting off of work, and you're just like, what are you gonna do? What do? You go out with your coworkers.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're in the city. You can literally walk to 19 bars within
downtown Chicago. Yeah.
Quarter mile. You can hit up 19 bars if you wanted to. And this is life. This was life pretty much for a long time for me.
Yeah, in the hospitality industry, the restaurant bars. Yeah, that's how it is.
But it wasn't good. It's just
something was off, because a lot of people would be content with this lifestyle. Work hard, play hard, save up enough money to go have some fun.
Right.
But for you, it sounded like you knew that you needed a little more, right? Because a lot of people go on to have fulfilling careers in that industry, and and that's great for some people, but it seems that you needed more. And it's interesting to me. I'd like to make an observation that at every phase in your life, there was someone from your home parish along with you, whether it was your cousin Tim or this roommate in this new job. So even though your life kind of went many different directions, home, downtown Chicago, there was always someone or something from the church with you, and I find that interesting. So now you're living the crazy life downtown Chicago. Um, and how long does this go on for? And what year is this, might I ask?
So let's see, this was fall of 2012 is when I officially moved out of my parents' house. It was October. And so that's when I first started working at the restaurant and doing the multi-gig, lifestyle. And to make a quick comment, the roommate that I had, he's a close friend of mine, but we did not jive well.
Oh, sure. Roommates, yeah,
So
yeah.
we had two completely different views of how to live in an apartment. And I kind of wanted to I want to be established cleanliness, and like we're adults, we're in our mid to late 20s, but he very much was living the college life still.
Sure,
So
that two different, yeah, those are two different phases.
not his fault. It's just, just our perceptions of how we treated the apartment. So it was very difficult. This contributed to like my downward spiral, so to speak.
Yeah.
But to kind of also, like, in the midst of all of this, we get a new proestamino at my parish in 2003. So we're talking now for about 9 years now. We have a new priest, and he inevitably becomes my spiritual father. His name is Father Telemachos. So this is that same spirit.
Telemachos? Telemachos, like Telemachus?
Yeah, Telemachos.
Oh, dude, these names that Saint Spiridon and Valasides, dude,
I don't make these things up.
That's amazing. So this is, and is he there now? Is he still at Saint Spiridon?
He actually just got reassigned to another parish on the north side of the city.
Okay, so he's in Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, so he's still in Chicago, but in September 1st of 2021, after being at our parish for 19 years, he gets uprooted. To another parish. So to say the least, the people at St. Spiridon were not happy, because
it's always difficult. It's always those transitions are always very delicate situations, and more often than not, the community is known to a spiritual father for so long, and inevitably when things change, it's rough going sometimes. So anyway, so now Father Telemachos is your spiritual father. And while you're going through all these things, and does he guide you? What are the conversations with him like?
He does. And so I was still going to confession regularly, in regard, like maybe major times a year, Christmas, Pascha. I would still try to attend church as often as I could, but man, once the bar life hit, and me moving out, like my church attendance really like took a huge drop off, and I wasn't really going anywhere on Sundays pretty much for a long while, maybe for like a solid 5 or 6 years. It was a long time.
That's
long time. But I still saw him regularly, at least I tried to, and he would always constantly encourage me to try to do more in the parish. And okay, can you be a ministry leader for Ultra Boys or Goya? And I tried helping out. Maybe can you coach this basketball team? Sure. Very short stints. And but I still had a solid prayer life because of not only Father Telemachos, but also my cousin Tim, because huge catalysts in my prayer life, these two guys. So I still regularly kept that. So imagine the scene where I'm working at this restaurant. I'm going in the mornings, every morning, to work at this school. I'm pretty much miserable and depressed,
it's not a fulfilling life. What fulfillment is there in working like a dog, and neither one really, not advancement in either direction. I think anyone would find it difficult to be content with that. Yeah.
Right. But I come back to my apartment, and I at the very least expect some type of refuge, but I don't even get that, because I was clashing with my roommate, and things were always dirty. It wasn't really necessarily. So what I would do, I would just literally just go right to my room and just lock the door, and just the rest of the night, what I was doing, reading, praying, whatever it was, sitting on my phone, and then just go to sleep and do it all over again.
Do it all over again the next night. Yeah.
So it wasn't it wasn't a healthy routine that I was in, and just uh, something had to change. And I lived with him for a year until I got a new apartment in the city, and you know, I needed a change, and hitting pretty much, not, I wouldn't say rock bottom, because there are people that really hit rock bottom, but I hit a pretty big low when it was just, and I'll be very frank, it was just drinking all the time, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of alcohol, a lot of late nights, and just not a good mindset on things. Maybe I were okay, but deep down in my, like, in the depths of my soul, it was just chaos.
Yep. I mean, all those things, yeah, compiling and compounding on top of each other. They spiritually, of course, take a toll. Whether people realize it or not, like our soul is very responsive to lifestyles and things like this. So it's clear that yours was responding. And so this was like 2012, and then I believe you showed up to the seminary in 2015, because I got there in 2014. And you were the year behind me. And although we did not have many classes together, we had one of my favorite classes together, Modern Greek with Professor Matadova, but we'll talk about that later. So now it's like 2012. And how did you come, what happened between that time and when you enrolled in fall of 2015?
So, so here I am going through this, like, spiraling, and the worst thing probably happens to me in my life at that moment, and the relationship between myself and my cousin Tim gets really rocky. And because of myself, because I was so uh, agitated and down on everything that was happening, I sort of closed myself off from anybody that I was close with, and so I didn't even respond to him anymore. Like, I completely
Jesus.
cut him off out of my life, and that's like a spiritual haven for me. Like, I mean, he's like a spiritual, like, brother in
Resource, like a rock you can lean on. Yeah.
100%. Him and I always use the same phrase, iron sharpening iron, and we text each other every morning, like the same prayer every morning. To this day, we still text each other every morning. But that was kind of like eliminated, so to speak. And this is where I'm just like I just didn't know what to do anymore. I'm like, the only, like, spiritual guidance I have aside from my spiritual father, and I've cut him out of my life, and now he's hurt, and he doesn't want to really converse with me, or really he's not ready to kind of, because there was a point where I kind of went back to him, like, listen, man, I'm sorry, please, there's got to be a way we can reconcile this. And he's like, I'm not ready for this, because you completely just shunned everybody. And I'm like, okay. So here I am living in this apartment, and I said, man, I gotta start going to church again. Like, that's it.
Boom.
That's it.
Boom. There
Go
we
to
go.
church.
Yeah.
That's it. And little did I know, there was a church literally walking distance from my apartment. It took me about 7 or 8 minutes to walk there.
Which one is that?
St. Basil's.
Cool. Okay.
St. Basil's on the west side of Chicago. The priest, Father Pandelemo, at the time, he's in Wisconsin now, but he was the proestamo there at the time. So I went for a Sunday. It was great, and I went 2 Sundays. Then I went 3 Sundays, and it was either the 4th or the 5th Sunday that, this is a side story, sorry. I get to the church, and there's a sign on the door that says, due to the fire, the church service have been moved to the Marriott, which is like a conference center at some Marriott down the street.
Wow.
And I'm like, fire. The outside of the building was fine. Apparently they had some huge fire on the inside, and it completely burned the whole thing.
Dude, those old buildings. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, it was a blessing in disguise, because it was a former Jewish synagogue, and everything was very so they had, like, the Pandokrato was really God the old man.
So, yeah, which we don't depict anymore. Yeah, yeah. Man, that's old school. You see that barely in Greece anymore. Yeah, yeah.
All of it destroyed. All, like, any Jewish, like, architecture or decor was completely destroyed. So to them it was a blessing, because they were able to completely
restart. Yeah.
New iconography, everything. Anyway, so I go down the street to the Marriott, and I go to liturgy there. And so we're sitting there, and Father Pandelemo at the end of the liturgy is like, I know we're all, upset right now with the fire, but, it's still a joyous moment. Why don't we go back to the church and let's take a photo in front of the building? And so, he looks at me, and he had recognized me already a couple of times. Like, you should come too. You've been coming, take a photo with us. I'm like, man, I don't really like taking photographs with, like, big groups of people I don't know, but I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah, you're new at this point. You're kind of on the perimeter of the community. Yeah.
So we go back to the church, and there's like it's like 10 steps to get up to the front doors of the church. So all these people are gathered up on these steps and they're ready to take this photo. And here I am, I'm like, man, I do not want to be in this picture at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of like sneak off to the side and like kind of like hide behind like a column, like at the top of the steps near like where the doors are. And I'm like, all right, perfect. You know, they're going to take the photo. They're not going to see me. It's great.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Because it was like a week later, we go back to liturgy and Father Pantaleo stops me. He's like, you're the guy. And I'm like, what guy? He's like, you're the guy in the corner of the photograph. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you can see me. He's like, yeah.
Trying to hide, you actually brought more attention to yourself than if you just stayed in the photo. Yeah.
Totally. And to this day, I saw him at the APC in Naples, and he's like, Father, I still have that picture of you in my office.
That is hilarious.
You're at the corner. And I'm like, oh my God, Kyrie eleison. Like, this guy is, you know, but nevertheless, St. Basil's was huge for me.
Yeah.
It was exactly what I needed. I needed to just rebound. And so slowly,
that's amazing, because what I see here, in a very interesting way, in one very small step, in one decision to go to church, there's a complete reorientation of a life, of a lifestyle, of things that are important, running ragged, on the bus, working out all night, you know, and then to just simply walk down the street to the church. It was one small step that took you pretty much as far away as you could go from that lifestyle. And that is amazing to me. So it's the one small act of realizing there was something there, acting out of faith. And even then, you know, hiding in the corner, but for this Father Pantaleo to notice that, and he could have been like, oh, there's the guy that was hiding, you know. But to actually see you and talk to you about it and want to, you know, probably joke about it, had a tremendous impact on your life. Okay, so now you're back in the church world.
Yeah. So now here I am, like, okay, I'm still subbing. I'm still doing this restaurant thing. You know, about a year has gone by. So it's like summer 2013. So I'm still living in this apartment, obviously. So we're just about at a year removed of me moving out of the parents' house. And at this point, my older sister Maria, actually moves in with us because we had a third bedroom, and she was looking for a place. And she's like, "Can I stay with you guys?" I'm like, "Sure." Anyway, so I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere with this lifestyle right now. I mean, you know, I've kind of reinvigorated again, but now what? And so it was like a random Saturday afternoon. I'm sitting there right before I have to go to leave for work. I'm on my computer in the front room watching TV, and I just kind of stumble upon the Helena College Holy Cross website just to fish a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know why. I'm like, yeah, what's going on here? So I go and I'm looking at it like, oh, wow, cool. Look at these married people living in these apartments. Nice. Oh, wow. Oh, there's a 3-year program. There's a 4-year program. Really neat. Oh, wow.
But so you're liking what you're seeing. And then what did you do?
I'm like, man, I can't do this. There's no way. Like, I mean, it's like, in theory, it sounds nice. And I am always interested in this because the church has always attracted me. It's always pulled me towards herself. So, but I'm like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. You know, I'm like, I gotta go to work anyway. So I just leave. I go to work.
Sure.
On occasion, my sister uses my computer. So I guess that evening she got on my computer and the web browser opened up and she sees the website of the school.
Yeah.
Now, I have no idea this is happening. I have no idea that she had saw this. And she was going to liturgy still down in St. Spiridon, even though she's living in the city.
Sure,
so
home
she
parish.
goes down and she goes to talk to my spiritual father to tell him, hey, by the way, this is what Niko's doing right now. He's looking at this website. You know, I think you need to talk to him, Father, because by my estimation, my spiritual father, he really raises the bar when it comes to the priesthood.
Cool.
Everything he does through my perception is like just excellent. You know, he's a great liturgist. He's an excellent homilist. You know, he does everything with such phronima, such, you know, reverence. And so here I am, you know, I'll visit every once in a while. I'll see him during Holy Week and, you know, during certain Sundays. And I look at him, I'm like, this is amazing. There's no way anybody can live up to this. I can't even live up to this. So by my estimation, there's no way I would ever go ask him, hey man, what do you think? Should I do this? Only to get shot down, you know, because so it's exactly what happened. So, well,
That's what took. Your sister interceded on your behalf, is what it seems like, which is sometimes we need that. And again, going with the theme of the right people in your life, she obviously was still involved in Saint Spiridon, so she took her faith seriously as well, and it was kind of this team effort of guiding you. So she talks to Father Telemachos, and then what happens after that?
she's like, hey, by the way, she comes back, like it was a couple of days later. She's like, by the way, I saw what you had on your web browser and you need to do it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? No, I was just messing around. I'm not going to the school. So
Yeah.
she's like, well, Father Telemachos begs to differ. And he said he wants you to come down and talk to him. And I'm like,
Oh,
man, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's no way I'm going to go down. And anyway, he had called me later on that week and he's like, hey, by the way, when you're ready, just come down so we can, so we could chat. I'm like, all right.
cool.
So I go down with my sister. She drops me off at the church. I go in his office and we're just sitting there and he's like, you got to do it, man. And I'm like,
Wow.
I was not expecting it. I'm like, what, he's serious right now? He's like, yes, I'm 100% serious. You got to fill out the application and you need to start doing this. All right. So, but first things first, we got to go see his eminence so he can get his,
Sure.
first. And I'm like,
Wow,
like,
now that's amazing too, because it was not only like, okay, Niko, talk to me, tell me what you're feeling. It was the full confidence, it was the full push that maybe you needed,
100%.
in those 14 years. And then finally, there's one person who saw what was going on and knew that this needed to happen, and he made it so. And that's amazing that you have this, spiritual presence in your life, and that's a credit to Father Telemachos and your sister, I suppose, too.
Yeah, my sister.
And so that's amazing. So he takes you. He pretty much paves the way for you. Tells you we're going to do this, this, and this. And then I'm very curious because I've heard a lot about Metropolitan Yakovos. He actually ordained my father to the diaconate.
Really?
At his home parish in either Moline, Illinois, or East Moline, Illinois. I'm not sure which church. But anyway, so Father Yakovos. Actually, my dad had to get his permission from him as well to go to the seminary. So what was that meeting like with Metropolitan Yakovos?
It was very short. I didn't even talk much. I mean,
did you go with Father Telemachos?
Oh yeah. So it was myself, Father Telemachos, and this priest monk that would visit us every year for Pascha and Christmas. His name is Father Athinagoras. He's actually, I mean, this is a whole other story, but just really shortly, he's born and raised in Colombia. So he born and raised in Catholic Church, Colombia, the country.
Oh.
And so he has the desires of becoming a Catholic monk, and he meets, I think it's Archbishop Athinagoras of Mexico City.
Huh.
And what he does, he's really like interested in the Orthodox Church. He gets interested in it, and so he gets baptized into Orthodoxy in Mexico, and the Archbishop sends him to Mount Athos for like 8 years to learn Greek.
Whoa, that'll do it. That will do it. Yeah.
He learned Greek, and so he only spoke Greek and Spanish. He gets back to Central America, and they said, well, now you need to learn English if you're going to become a clergyman. He's like, okay. So I guess, I don't know how he got set up with us, but they sent him to Chicago where he knew some people, and he started attending our parish regularly, and he was ordained to the diaconate and to the priesthood at my parish.
That's very cool. That's amazing.
So he'd been visiting every year for Christmas and Pascha to raise money to take back with him because he was doing a mission in Cuba.
Mission, sure. That's very cool. So it's the four of you. Now it's the four of you are sitting down.
So yeah, the four of us with the Metropolitan. So it's myself, Telemachos, Athinagoras, and Metropolitan Yakovos. We're all sitting there. They're having their own meeting because Athinagoras needs permission from the Metropolitan to
sure,
go
he's
around.
got his stuff going on. Yeah.
And next thing you know, the Metropolitan looks at me, he's like, "Que tu pedi?" And they just explain like, well, he wants your blessing to go, to the seminary. And like, I mean, he didn't like, he's like, of course, yeah, of course.
Huh, that's amazing.
So
he asked Father Niko if he speaks Greek, and Father Niko said, yes, I do speak Greek. And it was as easy as that. Well, from Chicago, of course, too. I knew that all you Chicagoans and your Greek are very sharp. And
Chicagoans, just so you know.
What is it, Chicagoans?
Chicagoans, yeah.
Me. Okay, cool. Okay, so Metropolitan Yakovos gives you his blessing. Very
story. As we were leaving, I stand up and he sees like, because he's a short guy, he looks at me, he's like,
Oh,
and I'm like,
whoa! So he told Father Niko, well, what a handsome young guy. You're tall and everything. Don't get married. Become a bishop.
and I'm like, oh, God bless your eminence, thank you. So and we left right after that. We left. So it was nice. It was a very nice meeting.
Good, very good.
That was that. So we had that meeting, and I mean, before even that meeting, the initial meeting with Father Telemachos that I had with him when he told me you're going to apply, he says from here on out, no more messing around. Sunday mornings, you're here. You're here at Orthros. You're at the chant stand at Orthros every Sunday. That's it.
Yeah.
Prayer life, scriptures, fathers, all of it. You start doing all of it, and you are basically living at the chant stand on Sundays. And I'm like, you're not gonna be late. You're not missing Sundays. Okay. So, and I just started doing it, and I literally from the city on Sunday mornings, every Sunday morning, I'd be going down to St. Spiridon every Sunday morning. My sister and I would go together, and I'd be at the chant stand, and
awesome.
That's like where real formation really began.
Right. So your little priest, which is necessary, right? You have to go. It's important. Obviously, the bulk of the learning and formation is at the seminary, of course. That's why we go. But there has to be some type of preparation. Well, not to say that there has to be, but it helps you in spades once you're there. The things. Any introduction, any preliminary exercises help tremendously once you're there, because when you're there, everything happens at once, as we know. But so you went through this kind of like pre-training, not boot camp, but a preparatory process.
Well, it was boot camp, because think about it. He's also probably in his mind like, okay, let's see if he's serious about this. Sundays.
Yes,
let's see if this works out.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't.
Which is good. Yeah.
I didn't miss a single Sunday from that. I'm lying. I missed one, but I wasn't. It was in a summer. It was the summer before I left for seminary. I had already been like applied and accepted and everything.
I know, as things were happening. Yeah, for sure. You had graduated boot camp. Yeah.
Yeah. I was already.
Then that's awesome. And so how long was that? Like the year before seminary?
So that was summer of 2013. I didn't leave for seminary until 2 years later.
Bravo, 2 years until you got.
I didn't apply until. I didn't even apply till the following summer. So I applied the following summer of 2014. And funny story, man. I sent my application in probably like October, November of 2014. And here I am. I get an email saying you need to, schedule a phone interview. The best times to reach Greg Floor is on Mondays. And I'm like, okay. And you're already at the seminary at this point, probably, right? 2014 fall.
Yeah, that was my first year. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm like, all right. So it's after Christmas time. It's January 2015. And I called like on like 4 or 5 consecutive Mondays. And no one would ever answer. As a matter of fact, the machine would pick up saying, the school is closed today. I'm like, don't these people?
Oh, it was the snow days, right? Yeah, my first year in Boston, record-breaking blizzards, and me from California, I thought to myself, where am I? What is this? Yeah. And but one, the snow I wasn't super excited about that, but the snow days were, I think, record-breaking snow days. Yeah.
It was insane. It was like 3 weekends in a row. You guys had like 3 blizzards in a row, like nor'easters, boom, boom, boom. And here I am calling every Monday, like, oh, the school's closed. I'm like, don't these people work? Like, it's Monday. Like, this is like the prime day they should be in the office.
Yeah, what? Nothing was happening in Boston for those 3 weeks. Yeah, that crazy time. Okay, so you couldn't get through to him, and I assume you finally did, or he called you back?
Yeah. So I mean, eventually it happened. I have the phone interview with Greg Floor, and we go through like a series of questions. He asks you, why do I want to be a priest? And I mean, I was just blown with him. Listen, man, I just want to serve liturgy. That's it. I just want to serve
the services. We're intent on the spiritual life, which is good. All priests have their not proclivities, but things that they prefer, that they're naturally drawn to. Some are youth work oriented, or there are many different things that priests can kind of focus in on. And I mean, obviously, there's nothing better than to focus in liturgically. And having the examples of those two priests is probably what kind of wired you this way, which is very 100%. Cool. And then, so we are pressed for time here, Father Niko, because I will begin preparations for services here in a bit.
Yeah.
But let me ask you. So now, so you've been accepted to the school. It's 2015. You've arrived at the school, and it doesn't have to be from your first year, but like maybe from your full time there. What would you say your favorite parts of being at the seminary were? Or another way to think about it is, what are some of the things that you miss most about that unique time of life?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is the people. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I mean, all the guys that we all went together, and like, everybody's scattered across the country, and with technology, it's obviously good to, like, be able to keep in touch. But man, but seeing people face to face, hanging out with them is such a different, it's such a different vibe.
It's a unique environment in that you're in a place focusing on a very unique specific thing. However, you have a support group of about like 15, and you had a very large class, the class behind mine. You guys were maybe 20 person class. And
Yeah.
so you're focusing on this unique thing that you've been drawn to personally. But however, now you're at a time when there's many other guys doing the same thing that you're doing, and it's very special for building up those
Yep.
those bonds. I mean, even we have Father Niko and I are in a group chat with about 12 of our brothers who are schoolmates, not classmates, but they were at the seminary either right before or right after us. And while it's a social based group chat, oftentimes we're discussing, okay, guys, we have this situation at the parish. How have you guys handled this? Or we're experiencing this. What are you doing about these services and this situation? All kinds of things, everything from parish council to services to fundraising. So it's amazing. And these things form naturally. And I think, and that's what you were saying that you missed the most, is these things happen live time.
Oh yeah.
You're there. And it takes a little more effort these days. We have to reach out. But it's always so nice when we do so. Okay, so the people for sure. And
And chapel life. I missed it.
I knew that was going to be one, because saying that you had a love of the services, I will say, I don't think I'm wrong, but I could always be wrong. But I will say the services in the chapel are unique towards any parish in the country, in that you have full Byzantine choirs. Like, of course, there are many, excellent psaltists throughout the country, but to have two full Byzantine choirs, the effect it has on services is amazing. So tell me about a chapel life at the seminary.
It all started. So right before I leave, Father Dilemma was like, listen, obviously you're going to go to class, and your education is important, but the best class you'll ever attend is at 8 a.m. in the morning and at 5 p.m. at night. That is your best education you'll ever get.
That would be Orthos in the morning and Vespers in the afternoon, the daily services, for those of you who listen.
Sorry. I just assume people know what that means.
No, that's okay. No worries. Yeah.
And he was totally right. So, I mean, it was just, it was educational on several levels. Obviously it's spiritual, but, you're also learning, discipline, because, sometimes you don't want to wake up, or sometimes in the evening.
And was having long night classes, working late on paper, and then, waking up and hearing the bell. They'd ring the bell every morning, and you hear the bell, and sometimes, you jump out of bed, and you're like, okay, ready to go, it's time for Orthos. And sometimes you hear the bell and you don't jump. Sometimes you're sleeping so heavily you don't hear the bell. But anyway, yeah, no, it's that was a very special.
And the chanting, oh man, the chanting. Oh, I miss it.
Excellent chant professors, excellent students who were inclined musically, or really, took towards either the scientific side of music, or just the chanting side. And it is something that I do.
We call the tail end of like that golden era of chanting, because I know before that there was some real heavy hitters on.
Yeah.
But we got like the end of it. We got your Panayoti Hasiakoses and.
Oh yeah, he's in Chicago, I believe, right? Yeah. I remember he was a senior when I was a freshman. Yeah.
Yeah, such good choirs. In our years, like our early years, man, there was just some solid choirs going on. But those are the things that I really miss a lot.
Yeah, and those are things that I feel like will carry the students and carry those who go there for years on into their ministry. I know the Holy Week seminar for me, every year at Holy Week, we've experienced many Holy Weeks in our lives, whether home parishes or parishes we're serving now. And for some reason, every year at Holy Week, when I'm preparing for a service, I always think back to, of course, my home parish, but then also that Holy Week seminar at the seminary, at the school, was a very unique one. And I remember that one fondly. So, yeah. Now we have time for one more question, and we're just going to get right to it because it's my favorite question that I ask my guests. What to you, Father Niko? What are the greatest joys of the priesthood?
I think you already know my answer. I mean, liturgical life is, for me, it's surreal. I mean, now obviously, like you get used to it, but you know, there's just nothing beats just standing in front of the altar table, just like in just awe of
It
where
is
you are and what you're doing. You know, like
it is an awesome experience in the true meaning of the word awesome, not awesome like awesome cool, but awesome in an awesome experience. It is.
oh
It
yes,
is.
it
Yeah.
is. So, and you're just like, I can't believe I'm actually responsible for administering these gifts to people. Like, I can't believe it's been entrusted to me in order to do this. So just like, there is like an idea of like worthlessness. Obviously, we're never worthy to be in front of there, but like, how am I given this opportunity to
Right.
be able to convey all of this to, the congregations of these faithful people? So
Right. I am always in. Obviously, I'm not ordained yet myself, but I'm aware of several of the prayers that refer to the priest as the unworthy priest, and I think that's always a very it's such a because it's so true and accurate, but also like a very good reminder every Sunday. And those prayers particularly are very beautiful to me, and it is quite an amazing thing that ordained clergymen are able to do. Wonderful.
it really is, man. It's a blessing. The people here, man.
Yeah,
They're,
oh,
they're,
man, that is another. We are pressed for time, but that was another question I was going to ask you too. Now, usually, the way it goes in the priest world, shall we say, is that you are ordained as a deacon, where you work with a proistomenos or presiding pastor, and then you are ordained again as a priest yourself. But then you spend a good amount of time as an assistant priest or a voitho, as we say, to a proistomenos. But Father Niko, you went straight from being ordained to a priest. You jumped the assistant priest into proistomenos, correct? At your parish is it Holy Trinity in Waterbury?
yep, yeah.
Now, what was that? What was that learning curve like? Just to sum it up.
Thank God for my predecessor, Father Perry Callis. He's
Cool.
now in Minnesota, but he prepped me that entire summer before I was ordained. We had several meetings on the phone for like hours. I was taking notes. He's prepping me how to, you know,
Awesome. So there's a passing of the baton. There was a passing
basically.
of the baton. Okay.
So like I'm having to fill these shoes. But thank God he prepped me very well. And these people, amazing, man. Like just very accepting and very like, uh, and keep in mind, my 6 months into my priesthood, boom, pandemic, and I'm just like,
Oh, sure.
so like a lot of like my ministry took a huge halt, even though like I mean, it was difficult as it is trying to get my feet wet as a brand new Dominos in a brand new parish, but now I got to deal with a pandemic. So
Yeah, man.
a slew of things happened, but thank God for the people here, man. I mean, it really truly helped.
That's awesome. That sounds like it was, it's a difficult jump for anyone to make, but it sounds like you were prepped properly by Father Perry, and
Yeah,
the community was that good soil that needed. It's like where you landed in this good soil. The people they understood the situation, were accepting and encouraging, and you've been there ever since. It's just amazing.
yeah.
Very
If
cool.
there's any parish that is good at nurturing or the accepting of a brand new Domino in regards to like being freshly ordained, it's this parish for sure.
That's awesome.
Like they're like primed for it here. It's really good.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Very
So,
cool.
but and here we are, 2.5 years later, and we're still here. Thank God. They haven't
Thank
dropped
God.
us out yet. So
That's awesome. Well, Father Niko, I'm sorry we're winding down now, and we're going to have to come to a close. But I can't thank you enough for joining us on Path to the Priesthood. I know I enjoyed finally hearing your story after knowing you now for maybe 6 years or so, and I know I enjoyed hearing it. I know others will as well. And we wish you many more years of blessed
you.
ministry in God's vineyard, and I'm sure they will be fruitful years at that.
Thank you, Christo, so much. And this opportunity, I couldn't believe it when you asked me to do this. And I said, man, me? Really? I'm not interesting at all. But I hope this is a fruitful experience for you, man. Thank you so much for that.
It was indeed. Thank you, Father Niko, and thank you everybody for listening. We look forward to being with you again the next time on Path to the Priesthood.